Welcome to another edition of the Reverse Pivot podcast. We have a great guest here, a very special guest. But before we get into Cal Bruton, a little shout out to our sponsors, Brian Curl Basketball, Big Dog Sports, Ryan Stolberg, and Chris Weir at FIT Education. And now Hooper's Heaven. Nigel Bergen wants to be a part of the sponsorship group. So, hey, thank you guys. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to interview the Cal Bruton OAM.
Yeah, well, I'll do a little introduction, and it's not easy doing a little introduction on Cal because Cal, my goodness, have you achieved some things in and packed it into and still packing it in. So congrats on that. But I just want to say you first arrived in Australia. I mean, you grew up in a pretty tough neighborhood. You can share that a little bit to us, but you ended up playing 4 years for the Shockers, went to the NCAA tournament, 79, the first season of the NBL. You arrived into Australia. Certainly brought this what would you describe it as? Flamboyance, but just energy times 1,000 that you brought to the basketball court. And I think so many people that had never watched basketball at that time immediately became fans of basketball, when they saw Cal Bruton play. And I think, and Cal, correct me if I get any stats wrong, but I know that you coached over 300 games in the NBL. I just off the top of my head forget how many you played. It's probably similar numbers.
250.
Yeah,
250.
yeah. And then you won 2 championships coaching.
One coach, one player.
Yeah, okay. And where I remember the one coaching because I happened to be on the team that you beat.
That's right.
And I blame Brian Curl to this day that he didn't let me loose on Ricky Grace, and so Brian doesn't agree with me, but I'm going with it, Cal. Okay, but Cal, in a summary to me, you're a champion human being, you're a champion coach, you're a champion player. You've mentored thousands of people, but I also think that you were part of building this NBL league. You're an integral cornerstone of building the NBL. So that's my introduction. I'm very fortunate that you decided to hop in a car when I was 13 years of age and drove from Geelong to Bundaberg, where I was living, where a good friend of mine and yours, Mark Thompson, had moved to from. He was your um, little star when he was 13 or 14. And you know what, Cal? He was wearing pullovers. Do you know what pullovers are? They were the knee guards from Al Westover and Bruce Palmer. And we only worked that out maybe in the last few months, didn't we, Bruce? When Tomo mentioned it one time. And so here's this guy wearing Converse pullovers, best friends with the best basketball player in Australia. I was pretty chuffed when you guys arrived to town. But anyway, I'm going to hand over to Bruce to start getting some questions, Cal. I'm ecstatic you're on board with us today.
Oh, thank you, fellas. That's the best introduction I've had in just all time, right? So I really appreciate you guys.
Cal, the BBF, can you give us an explanation and tell us what that is? Bruton Basketball Foundation.
Yes, BP. What I did, I've been having the companies. I had the Bruton Basketball Propriety Limited. I had the Black Pearl Company. And what we did was just go around and do clinics and camps for young kids that really couldn't afford to go. So, I used to load up the back of my car, which I still have that car now. It's got 453,000 kilometers on it, and the air conditioner is gone, but I'm still pushing it. Yeah, I used to take it with my kids, and we'll go and unload, and we'll hire a venue, and we invite the kids in. Some we charge $50. We'll give them a T-shirt and a basketball, and we had, it's very small sponsors chip in, but we did it on the All rag. And then it got to a point where a lawyer friend of mine came to me and said, Cal, you're doing all these things for everyone else, and you're not really getting anything out of it yourself. He said, why don't we set up a foundation for you? Because I believe that'll work in a special way, tax deductible, if we got full DSG status. So I was like, oh, please help me set it up. So I had to go get a board together. Got a wonderful person, Italian lady named Nadia Pesarasi. She really admired her because her son, and she lost her husband, son lost a father. He was like 9 years old and very similar to my upbringing. So she took a kindness to me that I was looking after her son in my little camps. I took him with me to the Blitzes in Alice Springs and the Gold Coast, and I won her over, so she wanted to get people on board. We got Hands Across Canberra on board here, which is a huge organization. And then we was able to sort of go across the country. So I'm really, really proud of the work we do. We've touched in every single state and territory in Australia, from the Northern Territory, Darwin, Alice Springs, to Western Australia, up in Broome, and down south to Bunbury and Albany, and then across to South Australia. And I like to go into the community where these kids don't even have shoes. They play on the concrete. And I try to organize shoe trucks. And through my work as a postie way back when I couldn't get a job coaching again in Perth, I became a postman, and I was able to get some connections. Yeah, I delivered the mail for about 10 months. Yeah, wow. Scooting around on the scooter. And
we'll have to call you the mailman, not the Pearl, huh?
But that's what started me, in the give back. I just felt that, I was that kid that, I grew up without my dad, who was killed when I was 7. And my mom was pregnant with my younger sister. And I had a sister that was intellectually handicapped that was albino. And I had to take her to school. And we're in an all-black neighborhood. And because she was albino, they thought she was white. And, I'm fighting and getting suspended. My mom finally was able to secure some funds for my father's death benefits. And we bought a home in Queens. And she told me that park, and she picked it specifically with a park nearby. She said, that's your second home. And when I whistle, you better bring your butt home, right? So I lived in that park, and that's how I became a basketball player, a baseball player, a football player, all out of that park. And that's what kept me on the right track, where my friends was into the drugs and into the crime. And I was eventually able to earn a scholarship, as you mentioned, to Wichita State. So, yeah, the Bruton Basketball Foundation is something I'm very, very proud of, because I have, obviously, you guys know my 5 sons. It's something, and I'm the same age as Bruce. I'm 72 this year. There's something I want to leave behind for them to run.
I thought Bruce was 82.
Al, I was a brilliant student. I graduated young. I'm 70.
Oh, okay.
My body says 82, but I just want to praise you, much like Curly. You're giving it back. And, you exceptional playing career. And what Steve said early in the introduction, big part of the growth of the NBL. You were a showman and a great basketball player, then the coaching. And what you did to bring the game up when you were at Perth. First Geelong, the player coach at Geelong in 82.
That's right.
Got to the grand final. West Adelaide was just the Bearcats were just too good with Leroy, right? Kenny Rich, Ray.
Yeah, Wood. Leroy. Yeah, they had a crew.
That was fun. But mate, it's just and I take my hat off to you. You giving back with the Bruton Basketball Foundation is admirable.
No, thank you.
Best with that.
No, I appreciate that, Bruce. Appreciate you too. And you guys brought the best out of me. I'll never forget that first tournament I had to play in Warrnambool. Yeah. And the Melbourne Tigers roll up. I said, gee, they got 5 imports. I said, they got 5 Americans. And your guys were tough. You, Gorge, and Westover was the main cog in the wheel. And then you had the big fella, the grasshopper,
Correct.
And with Scott Mitchell and Hugh Hobus coming on board a little later.
That's right. God, you got a good memory, mate. For a 72-year-old, that thing's still razor sharp.
Man, that's the kid.
Applaud you for that.
Nah, thank you, BP. That was good. We Wayne Garetta and the Corio Leisure Time Tournament. We did all those things, and we always would come up against you guys. in the finals. And then, of course, Frankston came in there with Wayne Burden and Mel Dalglish and the Gages, Mark Gage. Yeah, we had some battles all the way through. So you was my biggest hump to get over, because if I could just fast forward just a little bit, in that grand final, semifinal in Perth when you were coaching, you had spanked us the year before and put me in retirement. We lost by 55 points, which was the number I wore. And it was a year to the date that my mom passed away, and she was 55 years of age. Oh, and wow. I just said, you know what? I can't do this no more, under the current coaching arrangement. So I just said, no, that's it. I'll concentrate on off-court duties as the general manager. I'll build this program to become the best one in the country. And that's what I did, So then they ended up, as you know, we had to get by you again in that semifinal.
Game overtime.
Oh, jeez.
Took all of it. But, mate, we've always had great respect for you and your teams. They played hard, intelligent basketball. That, I look at it now, I mean, they had some talent, mate. James Crawford, still to this day, I don't see.
Could you imagine James Crawford playing today? With the space that they now, like we used to plant two big guys in the paint, and as you know, as guards, that meant you had these giant big fuckers just right in front of you, right? But now they all shoot threes, and they're out wide, and there's space, and I mean, James Crawford on the glass. Could you imagine him? Oh my God! But
he was awesome.
Cal, you played with such a confidence and a swagger, and I'm not saying that, like, some people, Australians are great at knocking tall poppies down, but you had this confidence and belief. Like, where did you develop that? How did you get that confidence?
Yeah, the hard work, the preparation. Being short and stature. Always, not getting the opportunities, being the last guy picked on the teams. I had to, back in those days, shovel the snow on the court just to get shots up. And then the big guys come and boot me off. They just watch me from their windows and wait till I get the court clean, and they'll go pick their team and then tell me I can have it after they finish, But I had to work harder than most, and I enjoyed that challenge to get better. I had a mentor who, a guy by the name of Howie Lawrence, used to pick me up. My mom, I used to cry, Mom, I don't want to go with Howie no more, because he used to work me like it was no tomorrow, But he felt that I can be a player. That was special. I ended up at under 14s making the New York City All-Star team, which played New York and New Jersey, played all of the United States. And that's what was like my coming out party. But I would say the 5 Ps, the prior preparation prevents poor performance. That was stamped on me. I put in so much work behind the scenes that no one ever knew. I mean, when I was 40 years old, I was still getting up at 6 a.m. with a stopwatch in my hand, running 400s and 200s. And so I can play with my son, CJ, and I wanted to show them this is how you get the chance, to put yourself in the best possible position to succeed when you prepared. And at night, I wouldn't leave the gym until I made 100 straight free throws. One point, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. My wife had to come check on me, thinking I passed out in the gym, which was right in the back of my house. So those kind of things kind of set the tone for me to be a person that wanted to achieve goals. And I wrote them down so they weren't dreams. I did my checklist, and I tried to step on the court full of confidence and perform.
Exceptional handle. Exceptional. So I do the skill sessions for Curls Academy. And we have the Brew. So I have Westbrook's, Tatum's, Doncic, Bruton. The quick cross, Timmy Hardaway like.
Yes.
So quick up. I mean, at that time, there was nothing close to your ball handling, your vision, your passing, but the quick jump shot. You know what I mean? Getting that space. You made up for the lack of size with the quickness. And so we do that about the quick pull-ups, mate, into the gaps, get into that scene. So you led on in infamy as far as our academy goes. And,
good on you.
Mate, I just and I do, and I hark back on how good your teams, how well organized, how well prepared. Of course, Ricky Grace became something that Hall of Fame. I'm assuming. I hope.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
James Hall of Fame. I would hope.
Yes, James, the Hall of Fame too. He came later. Yep. Hmm.
Yeah. And then I played golf yesterday with Dave Claxton.
Ah, yeah,
And
Dave.
we were talking about Leroy being an NAIA player.
Yes.
James was an NAIA.
Yes. They all came over in that triple ABL that Dr. Dave Atkins
Yeah, Doc
organized.
Atkins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So Doc brought out all those small college players to come into Queensland, and then they had a draft, and each club in the QBA got a chance to select two players. And Leroy went to the Gold Coast, and you had Lindsey Houston. Oh man, I could go down the list. But those guys, Dave Nelson, a lot of those guys came back here to play. And Brian Banks was up there at the time, and I ended
Yeah.
up bringing him because I was getting double teamed a lot. So I said, "Well, shoot, let me bring down another ball handler," And I brought Brian Banks down to
Geelong.
Geelong with me for a while, and that year we won the top of the Western Division, but we lost in the semis because back then you didn't, if you finished on top, it didn't make a difference. You still had to play 3 games over a weekend, and we ended up having to travel 2 of those games, so it wasn't any real advantage. But yeah, I like to go against the best guys. And that, to me, whenever I've seen a new kid come in the block, like when the Carfinos rocked up, or I was always saying, okay, I got to make sure I keep these guys in check. I can still go. So those are the challenges that kept me on my toes. And you wanted to win at the end of the day. You wanted to be recognized as a winner.
And
Absolutely.
there's a take-home message here as well. And, I sometimes on this podcast get a little bit into the youth of today and how they go about stuff, because they just don't understand. I mean, they have different challenges that we didn't have, social media and phones and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, there's so many, like I've been at the under 18 state championships for the last couple of days at the Gold Coast, and we're down to Division 6 in
Wow.
under 18,
It's a lot of
and
kids.
Participation.
but it's a difficult one because they're doing it for the smaller associations, which I 100% agree with. But if you're at a big association and you're an under 18 and you're their sixth team, boy, oh boy, you're a long way from being a rep player. And these kids think they're rep players, but what you mentioned about all the stuff you did on your own,
Mm.
and most champions do that.
I think it's important that you understand that. And you also need to pass that forward too. Mark Thompson and all those guys. I ran a skill school down in Geelong. My first year, I was the director of coaching. I had to coach kids 6 nights a week, for 2 hours each session, from under 12s, 14, 16, 18s, 20s, boys and girls. And then on Saturday evening, I get the parents involved and they bring in the under 10s. And this went on all year round during the school holidays. We had camps where we had kids coming in from interstate because we have sleepover camps. You stay for 4 days. And then we would pack up and jump in the car, drive to the airport, hop on the plane. This is after we did our training and everything. So back in those days, we had to do a lot, to try get the game to grow in the communities and things like that.
And you didn't have all these fancy rollers to and skins and compression socks and delayed concussion and all these protocols. If the coach told us to jump, you'd say, "How friggin' high do you want me to jump, coach?"
Yeah.
Well, what do they do today? They go, "Just hang on a second. Have you ever asked someone to jump as high as they can before?" I'm going to Google that. And in fact, I'm going to ask my mummy and daddy if it's okay that I jump high just in case I hurt my calf. Like
I know you load
I'm
management.
exaggerating, of
I
course,
know. I
but
know.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some amazing athletes today, and
Yes.
it's just a different era for us old guys. But
Yes.
have you, like Bruce and I've talked about this, have you? changed your style as the generation has changed, like in terms of what you did 20 years ago to today?
You know what, Steve? I'll be totally honest with you. I'm a fundamental guy. Much as I had some, as you say, some swag in my bag and all that, but all that was built around the fundamentals. I can go left, I can go right, I can pull up, I can pass with fundamentally two hands, and I'll throw a little hot sauce on it every now and then when I can go behind my neck or between the legs. But that was for the entertainment value that the fans wanted to see, and it brought them to the game.
Yes,
But
it did.
fundamentals, I still teach that hard. I'm coaching the ACT under 20 girls this year,
Okay.
and for the first time, and they haven't won a game in 2 years. And I had selected a team, and I got them on a running track. I got them a running coach, and trying to get like fast break. My philosophy, being short, run, stun, and have some fun. And whatever happens after that, let it happen. But
Yeah.
we're gonna be competitive. So my thing was always the fundamentals. You got to play the game the right way. That's why my Bruce's teams too. They went to their strengths. They always kind of you had some guys inside that can take advantage of mismatches. That's who you go to.
Yeah.
Never forget Fisher and Dylan
Oh,
and
yeah.
Boyner. The three. Shoot, those
Cecil.
dudes. Steve Sue, yes, God bless them. Yeah, you had guys. Dwayne Nelson. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Whoever they brought in there, those guys was going to play hard for you. And that's the way I tried to build my programs. But, that was the mirror. I find out who wins it, who's winning the league, and then you go match up. All right. So that's how, when I had to go against West Adelaide, I had Tiny and James to go match up with, Mark Davis and Bill Jones, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's important that you try to educate the players that we don't beat ourselves. That's a non-negotiable, right? You're gonna get beat, but you don't try your best not to beat yourself. And if you could go ahead and prepare your team and we didn't have a lot of video, you couldn't sit down and watch the videos of the other team and scout and do all that sort of stuff. But you knew a little bit about them because back in our day, you played each other enough times,
Yes.
But we weren't on TV every week like they are now. And you only had one assistant coach, maybe two if you're lucky, and they both volunteers. So you had to do it all yourself. And I love basketball. I love the game, probably
Yes.
more than anybody, and I try to exude that with my family and my boys. I think that's how CJ was able to take it with both hands and run with it. And as you can appreciate, it becomes a tremendous vehicle. It can take you anywhere around the world if you learn how to play the game the right way.
Yeah, correct
Well
way.
said, Cal. Really well said. And now let's get into the Allen Iverson. So you're kind of emceeing, or what's your role with Iverson coming out here?
Well, I was asked to support this program, and in return, they're going to support my foundation. And
Nice.
and that's how this all came about. Allen Iverson, I've only met him a couple of times briefly, and he was around the crowd, as you know. You don't get too close, but you throw your fists up, what's up, But having the experience of being with the Magics and the George Gervins and the Michael Coopers, who we brought over to Australia at one point to help me with my program, this Allen Iverson thing really took me to another level because I felt that he was bigger than the game. He was a huge cultural exchange. At that
Absolutely.
time, wearing baggy pants and chains and having your hair braided, which I used to have my hair braided when I had some.
Me too.
That was kind of, well, you saw CJ with his hair braided. He had all kind of ways, and but my thing was, if I can connect with Allen Iverson and get his sort of influence on the game and how he went about it, then I think that could be beneficial for young kids who come up in underserved communities and didn't have much, but found a way to make it happen, And Allen, I think, was a real icon in that space, like he was smallish. He had a heart that was like bigger than Far Laps, and he was keen to showcase it on the floor.
His
I never seen
crossover is like
dynamite.
ridiculous.
Man, I think he took it to a whole new level, and his athletic ability.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
he can bounce. You know, catching missed free throws and dunking them as a 6-footer. You don't see that every day. You
Yeah.
know, and I think what he was able to galvanize that support with his teammates. You know, you can see his teammates gather around him and feel his energy, and they all look to him to go do your thing. We got your back. And I always admired how someone that can capture your teammates. You don't win this thing by yourself at all. Your teammates has gotta be a part of the success. And I use the theory about the old iceberg theory, where you got an iceberg, and at the top of the iceberg, you got your stars. And everybody, as long as the iceberg is solid at the bottom, those guys at the top keep rising. But as soon as you don't appreciate the bottom of that iceberg, those guys don't feel a part, they start to break off and it melts down. And what happens to the top? They come submerging right down into the water. So I've always tried to be one that I'm going to look after the guys at the end of the tunnel, the ones at the end of the bench, I should say. You know, I'm going to make them feel this is the most important job on this team, for you to feel a part of it. And whenever I can get you an opportunity to showcase the work that you put in to help us rise, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a way. And that's how I've tried to build my teams, you know, by tapping probably the least, as someone would say, the least important person on the team and make him feel like he's the VIP. He's the most important person. And then I think the other guys got to show that respect too, and therefore you can build your team philosophy.
It's players understanding their value,
right?
Everybody's going to have a different role. But I think if you're Perth, Steve Davis.
Yes.
What value did he bring? My God. You know,
he was so important.
The blonde?
Watterson, Eric Watterson?
Yes, Watterson.
Bring? Yeah. And that's a sign of a connected team, a well-coached team that everybody understands that, hey, I might not be that, I'm not James Crawford.
Right.
But I bring the same value that James brings.
No question. Trevor Torrance, I had all those guys that I tried to, like, even at the end, I had Robbie Dempster, and all of a sudden Craig Evans, and these guys made sure that they were supportive, of myself, because I made sure they felt a part of the team. But they also, I remember one time Craig Evans and Ricky Grace got into a fight right before we played you at practice. And Craig was like, no, you're not working hard enough. He's ready to take Ricky out. I was like, whoa, hold up. We can't do that now.
So now does getting back, Iverson, is he launching a book?
Yes.
What's it called?
Misunderstood. So he's got the book going. There's all sorts of activations happening for this. He's got the dunk contest. He's got the 3-point contest. He's going to showcase the crossover. He's going to have a Q&A with myself being, popping the questions. So if you want to send something through.
When does that start, Cal? When does Al actually arrive in Australia?
He arrives on the 18th.
So he's coming straight to Brisbane. That's the first place.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the first spot. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was all trying to be worked out. I think he was supposed to go to Sydney. I'm not sure if that's on anymore. So, it's negotiations with Iverson because, it's not like he's coming cheap either.
I bet he's not.
You hear the figures, you go, whoa, if you're talking that kind of money, I don't even want to throw it out there because some people go, what? But at the end of the day, when you got someone like that making an appearance here in Australia,
he's iconic. Like he's a Magic Johnson. He's in the Michael Jordan conversation in terms of not maybe as great player as Jordan is. For me, he's the greatest of all time. But you're talking about iconic names. You're talking about your Wilt Chamberlains. You're talking about it, but everyone talks about Iverson. Everyone knows who Iverson is because he was so visual in everything that he did. And like, you were different players in different physiques, but you did similar for this country in the NBL. I have to be honest, because your crossover was as good as was crazy as well.
You're both brands.
Yeah, I think you are. I think the NBL I mean, it's been through its ups and downs, right?
Excuse me, I'm
But
just trying to plug in.
you've certainly been, I think, yourself, Leroy, the Al Green, we can go through, and Crawford, just such crucial players to the where the league is today. Like, because a lot of the imports nowadays, they don't stay for very long. They come and go. There's a lot more turnover. In that area where you were around, you guys were
We're here.
you were it.
47 years this year, which is
Is that right?
unbelievable. Yeah, 47 years. Yeah, I've been
Wow.
here. So
So you came out in 80? No,
79. I played the
79.
first year in NBL
That's
in
right.
Brisbane, and then I went back to the States. Doc Atkins wanted me to stay for that triple ABL, but I had the two kids. I had my stepson Elliot and my son CJ back in Wichita. So I was told that they couldn't bring them back. They wanted to bring me back, but I told them I couldn't come back without my family.
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, sorry, we can't do it." So I said, "That's fine." But I got the invite to go down to the grand final to watch Canberra play against St. Kilda. And whilst I was there, I had already met Rex Stewart. God bless him. He was a chairman of the Geelong Basketball Club, and
Yeah.
the guy his back pocket man was Robbie Gannon. They used to run the bingo. That was another thing we had to do. We had to work bingo every week.
Right.
in the
Were you the number
smoke-filled venue.
caller? Were you the number caller, like
No, I didn't
21?
number call. I had to go collect the winning ticket and then
Oh, okay.
confirm the numbers. I had to read.
Okay. You could just imagine Bruce as a bingo caller, legs 11.
Hey, we
Yeah.
were very close to becoming teammates.
Yeah, we were too.
And Kenny Richardson was going to come. We would have had a super team.
Yes.
But Lindsay,
Yeah.
I want to Lindsay. I don't have a contract. I love Lindsay. Don't get me wrong. Lindsay, I love him.
Lindsay's the best.
But
Lindsay
at
is
the time, they're like, so you guys are Coburg and actually St. Kilda, and God, they're going to look after me, mate. Carol would have a job. I'd have a teaching job. They were going to buy us a house.
Yes.
Like Lindsay, we don't even have a contract, mate.
I know.
So they ended up charging Joel Coburg for poaching. Because I said, mate, I got it. I want to play in the NBL.
Yes, yeah.
So that was 82. But I thought, man, and I have nothing. There's nothing wrong with Geelong. I like Geelong.
It's a good spot.
It didn't happen. At the end, Brian and Al, the whole loyalty. What are we doing out here if we're not going to play together? And that made sense.
Well, that was great. I'm
Cal,
sorry.
Question about Geelong. We got the Geelong Venom playing in the WNBL.
Yes, I've seen that. Yes, I went and watched the game. Yeah.
They're very easy on the eye, the Geelong Venom. But they're good. I mean, there's some.
Yeah, they can play.
Their first year, they're having the normal sort of constraints that you have when you're new club. But do you think there'll be a Geelong men's team ever get back in the league? Do you think
well, same thing as here in Canberra. They're saying, in order to bring a team back here from Canberra, because they're talking Gold Coast first and Canberra second. That's the way they've been doing it over the years with the Blitz, going to a place to see what sort of interest is there. Well, Geelong don't have a stadium. There's no way you can play out of that factory, old factory, right? But I think here we got a chance. We're looking at building a stadium down in our old swimming pool. That hasn't been all confirmed yet, but that's all in the works with the government. And then I guess Gold Coast must be doing the same because I guess Olympic Games are coming up and they're probably trying to do something.
There is some infrastructure, but it's very not clear. They're talking about they're playing, using Boondall, right? So they're going to have to take out
from Gold Coast to Boondall.
Well, for the Olympics.
According to Dave, like I played golf with Clackers yesterday, where the Southport pool is.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking to build a stadium there.
Okay.
And with
amazing
the Olympics
location.
here, I remember the pool, but I don't remember any green space
Oh,
around that.
there's a lot of space there, Bruce.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the question is are you going to be able to get any state money, right?
Yeah,
With the
yeah,
Olympics coming up.
yeah. That's it. Mm.
Is it going to be all be private investors going to be putting it in? Well, maybe it's going to be if those investors are going to be anything like the consortium that own the Bullets, man, you don't want
And that's the problem, Bruce. I think, most of these clubs, and I think Phoenix only just getting it right now, they all have like 15 owners. Like how do you run a team? And when I was back in like Geelong days, it was Rex Stewart and a committee, and you knew who to go to when you needed to get the questions asked. When I went to Perth, it was Bob Williams.
to.
He was the number one guy that I had to make sure that he was happy with what we were doing. I put everything on the table to him. In a way, when we were in Brisbane, Brian Curl was BK was it, but he also had guys that he had to answer to. But you knew where you can go to one person. Whereby now you see you got general managers that don't really have that b-ball experience, and they're making b-ball decisions, and that kind of puts you behind the eight ball when it's not correct, and therefore you don't get the momentum that's necessary to capture the imagination of the crowd, because you have to get an audience. You have to build up that community spirit to make the people feel like they're a part of it. And if you don't, then the camera angles get a little bit different when they start
Yeah.
showcasing the game, and you can't go into the stands and watch people stand up because the seats are empty.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
that's the
I mean,
discipline.
some of the clubs, the southeast of Melbourne, they sell out games under the roof and stuff. Like, I take my hat off to Larry and the I mean, I don't know all the intricacies of who owns what and who's getting
Yeah.
the gambling money and all that, but what I can see is that there's people sitting, bums on seats at Perth,
Yes.
Adelaide,
Mm,
Tasmania, New
mm,
Zealand. Brisbane's not getting the biggest crowds, and guess why? Not because there's been a circus for the last 5 or 6 years, right?
mm. Yes, it's been
Um,
difficult. It's been,
yeah, but yeah, I just think, I mean, Geelong was when they were in the league, they were so competitive, and it's just interesting that there's a Geelong female team. How did the Canberra game go the other day, the NBL game when
great. It was packed. It was a good game too. Yeah, it was a really good game, and it was we hold about 447, 48 in the
Yep.
stadium because it's been redone. So it's got the air conditioning in there now. They got the seating. Before you had to have a fan. And
Yeah. So was that at the AIS or the
yes,
Center of
yeah,
Excellence?
at the
Yeah.
old palace. Yeah, so it's done up nicely. Now they've added a few things to it, and it looks really good. It's pleasant on the eye when you walk in. The concessions and all that. But the main thing was the air conditioning, because when we flipped the summer,
Yeah.
man, like right now, I went to coach the girls on Tuesday. It was 45 degrees inside the
Jesus.
stadium, so they shut it down. So no training, can't train. Sorry, and that was it. Nowhere else to go, and
Wow.
that was in our
45
training session.
degrees.
45 degrees inside the building. Yeah. So
I
you can
don't
imagine trying to do something in that sort of space. It's just not.
Sweat on the ball. You
so
just
so getting let's circle back. The is it just at Hooper's Heaven, or are there a couple of venues here? Because that Hooper's Heaven is Nigel Bergen's facility there in Albion.
Yes,
yeah.
that's what I was told. And
Okay.
yeah, that's the main major player behind that, the Queensland move for Allen Iverson, and all that's going to happen there. I think he'll have a couple other things going, but that's probably for their
Right.
own
Yeah,
marketing.
I think he's at a big shopping center for an hour somewhere,
Okay,
and
yeah,
people you can pay to have. I did
a
click on a
photo.
link.
Yeah.
You can pay, half the amount of your house mortgage to hang with him and touch him or something, touch his hand and kiss it or something. Or you can pay $100 and be in the lineup of 400 people to get signed for a basketball or something.
Well,
Yeah.
the Hooper's Heaven. So I saw Nigel on Tuesday at the under 18 state championships. it's going to be packed with 80 people.
Yeah.
And
Well, there you go.
it's with only 80 capacity. Maybe they might be able to cram 100 in there, but get your tickets right away.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is the not just to promote you and BBF, but it's to let the people know you better get out. So
Yeah,
you
it's not a massive space. It's not a
No, I
big
was
stadium.
told
We're
opposite.
talking one of these 24-hour stadiums. They're
you
limited
were at
size.
Georgian's thing, right, Steve? You went when Brian
Yeah,
was
we went there with
did his thing.
Gorge.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's and the other, it's a great facility, right?
Mm.
If you want to get work on your
Shots up.
shot, it's
Okay. Yeah.
got all the technology one would want. But my advice to all of our listeners: get onto Hooper's Heaven, get it there and get your tickets, or you're going to miss out. And I personally am going to try to get there because I want to see Allen Iverson.
Yeah. Good on you.
It'd be great to see you.
Yeah. No, great to see you
Well,
too,
I've heard on
BP.
the grapevine, Bruce, that he's trying to find how to get in contact with you.
Bruce can always reach out to me. I'm always going to be on call for Bruce. Don't you worry
Hey,
about that.
Steve's trying to give me shit.
hey, can
Allen
I?
Iverson wants to get, I've heard about Bruce Palmer. We want to,
Can we talk a little bit about? I mean, we've got two guys here that are, from the original era of the NBL and to where it is today. Thoughts on that, Cal? What do you see? Is it just the same thing, same package being rolled out, or how do you see it from someone who was there at the beginning? How do you see it today?
Bruce just summed it up with technology,
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
When we played back in the day, I remember, I think we were probably the first club in Geelong that had vivid video. So we we had a camera set up on top of the stage, shooting down at the game, and then you get a cassette after the game,
Yeah.
where you can watch it. Well, I think we had cameras follow me one day, and they did a special while I played against Frankston at Old Albert Park. That was the first time someone told me, "Oh, they doing a documentary on you, and the cameras in the locker room." And the locker room is like going to your bathroom. That's how big it was, and then I think from there we started getting a little bit of Sunday sports show, and then there was a little bit of basketball happening on that. And then I think Canberra was the ones that really took it to the next level when they had Bobby Turner with the Hooked on Cannon show. With Phil Lynch, though, they had weekly shows coming up, and they would then call around and interview the coaches. And then when we go up there to play, you go in at halftime and you'll do an interview under Phil Lynch and strategize what you're doing and talk about that. And then you'll get the game on the Sunday TV. So Bobby Turner actually was a key person in taking the game nationally and exposing it through what Canberra was doing, and they were winning. They won in 83,
Yeah.
84, and 88.
Yeah.
And that kind of set the tone. So when I got to Perth, I had kind of tapped in on that model where we had wide world of sports, and then we had the TV cameras going every which way. Guys, we making music videos like we did in
Boom,
Brisbane.
boom, here with the
Boom, boom,
Brisbane
boom. Yeah,
Bullets.
we had the boom, boom,
Just
boom
on,
going.
just on Facebook. It was great. I mean, that was a real innovation.
Some
But
great acting there. Larry and Georgie were just naturals.
And Leroy, he
dancing around like, but you make a great point about Bob Turner's contribution to the NBL.
Yes.
I mean,
Huge.
the whole promotional side of it, and boy, they were good.
They were good too, yeah. And I think when he stepped off from the Cannons, I guess that was prior to Sydney, he was involved with showcasing the Boomers. So he was, yeah. And that kind of gave, once the Boomers got a little bit of TV coverage and all that, then it started to filter through to all the clubs and what have you. But, TV was slow for the basketball because AFL was it. And then you'd be up in Queensland, it was rugby league, and then you even had rugby union. But you didn't get much else on your TV screen until basketball started popping up with the weekly shows, and everyone had their own responsibility to promote your club. So
I used to love, as a young kid, Yeah, out of Bundaberg wasn't easy to even get, 'cause we had two
We didn't
TV
have
stations.
television.
ABC,
Yeah,
ABC.
but you know what I did love was the program that we used to get at the games. You know, they did a
Yes, yes.
because you don't get any of that anymore
No,
because everything's electronic. But the program, I still got a box full of them.
I do too.
I
And
used to love
we
them.
had Clinton Gribus, God bless him too, on the ABC. I look forward to the weekend where you can
Yes,
watch what might not be your game, but you can watch someone else on the
correct.
ABC, and that was pretty exciting as well. So the game has come a long way from there to where you see now in terms of that visual. Like it's been a
Game
game
day
pretty much on every night.
presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, and the presentation of each club is stepped up, more professional. I know back then it was important with Bob Williams, like for us to look the part. So he asked me, how can we raise our profile? I said, well, we got to look like pros, and so we had the suits, and therefore you attract the corporates. They looking at us walking in the game. We had white pants, black sport jackets, shirt and tie, and everyone's got the same thing. When we changed up our tie to another color, everybody's dressed the same. We wearing the brown pants today with the black jacket. So all of a sudden,
Whereas today, it's
oh,
how cool you can look.
yeah,
Like,
Today,
hey,
they all look like
can
they're on a
can I
darts team.
wear my mother's dress upside down while my left nipple is hanging out as I walk into the game? It's
I
They
think
do.
it's a
They
new.
look like a darts team. I used to think show some respect. We had we'd wear a shirt and tie.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Respect your group and
Mm,
respect your supporters and respect the
there
league.
you go.
But it's
And
changed
your
that
sponsors,
because
respect your
the
sponsors.
sponsors love that now because they get more uh, clicks on TikTok or all
Mm,
that sort of stuff, which
mm,
didn't exist in our day. And just when they play the game though today, 40-minute game compared to a 48-minute game that you
mm,
played, Cal. And in that era, and my era as well, obviously the better players played huge minutes. There's a
mm.
lot more rotation of the players now. Like it's very common to see 10 players subbed in the first quarter.
I think the game, I play fast. And I always have my teams play fast, but I think everyone's trying to play a faster paced game right now, to see what easy transition buckets you can get.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I like, and he's not the first to do it, but Josh King is getting a whole lot of credit, picking up 94 feet. You
Yeah.
know, now you can't play a
I
field
love
guy
it.
at 94
I
feet for
love it.
40 minutes. Yeah. It keeps everybody, they couldn't, I watched last night, Illawarra couldn't even get the ball in bounds.
Yeah.
Like that looks like a freaking junior league. When you can't do
Well,
that.
the Bullets were the same a few weeks ago against Southeast. They had 28 turnovers.
Well, there you go.
And that was just pure defense. There's no special dribbles and back to front and punches and under my, this is just pure great defense that
Yeah.
leads to easy baskets.
You gotta, to me, pressure busts a pipe. That's what I used to tell my team. And if you can just continue to apply the pressure, but more importantly for me was that I got to use my team so everyone feels that they can make a contribution,
Yes.
and therefore when you got the whole team invested, now you got an excellent chance to win over not only them but the supporters of them. So they start bringing people to the game. Like we couldn't fit another person in Perth in the stadium with a shoehorn. That's why we had to move from Perry Lakes to Chandler, from Chandler to the entertainment center, and now of course they got the big RAC arena that
Yeah.
sits 12,000.
Do you remember that when you did coach and win and you won here in Brisbane? That was 91, I
90,
think.
yeah, 90, yeah,
Yeah,
1990.
90, 91, yeah. And they had people sitting in, workplace health and safety would not allow it today, but in that final game that you beat us, people were sitting in the stairwell.
Yeah, I know.
They couldn't tell you how many people were in that building because they just kept letting them in.
Mm.
And I've never seen anything like it since. It was incredible. And
game three. I mean, it didn't get much bigger than that.
yeah,
You know?
and that was amazing just to be a part of, even though we didn't win. We'll move on from that because you got naming rights. Cal, tell me, if you were like you obviously mentored a lot of young players over the years, right? And what are you telling them today with the NCAA money and all this stuff? How are you guiding the young players today?
Well, I'm coaching from the younger age right on through, and again, I'm just teaching them how to play the right way. But I think with the older guys that I coach that are about to go off to college, and I got a number of them, I would hate to put I'll say I probably got about 40 kids that I've
Really?
mentored through, going to different schools all over. One of them, I just mentioned one, Luke Mackay is now a coach. I had him coach the under 20s. He's coaching at New Mexico JC, been there for 5-6 years. We talk probably once a month, and he's just doing the same thing I've done and getting these kids on to major colleges and all that. But I've always talked to them about having pride. Pack your pride suitcase and wherever you go. And that's an acronym. You're going to have to be present. Like, you got to show up. If you don't show up and show out, then why are you here? The respect, you got to earn it. You got to give it. Respecting yourself, your family, and respect the university that you playing for. Because therefore, it gives you an extra responsibility. So that R is a key word. The I was important for me in pride because I say you have to be an influencer. And how do you be an influencer? You got to be a positive person. You got to take the hits. You're going to get hits, but you got to get knocked down 8 times, get up 9. Right? So I've had my hits over the years, and I keep getting up and I smile, and people are like, damn, he's still hit. He's still smiling, right? And I had to get an extra set of teeth to put in just so I can make sure it stayed that way, right? But my D's was my most important, and it was 5 of them. I was determined. I was dedicated. I had the discipline. I had the desire. And I had details down. I used to write, and I can pull out things I write, how I was going about to get it done. That to me is my dedication to the whole. And then the E, and I come from Wichita State when they had the MTXE. They had the mental toughness, extra effort.
On your practice, on your
that's
gear.
it. Yeah. You're not getting it done unless you put in that extra effort. So that E, the effort to me is effort based. And as you complimented me, Bruce, about how I was, from the word go, I'm ready to hit the floor running. And you know what? I want to see you put your hands on your shorts and bend over. That's when I know, because I got mine on my hips like I just had a drink. I'm ready to go. And that to me is when I can look at my opponent in the eye and know that he's not looking back at me. Now I'm ready to turn it up another notch. And that's where the preparation comes in. But the pride, I had pride. Every time I showed up, I had pride that I was packing my best version of myself. And I'm going to give it for my team, but I'm going to give you the business, and I'm going to give the fans a show that they can feel like, wow, I want to come back and watch Cal play again, or watch his team.
But all that works today. So exactly everything you're saying is what the true champions are still doing today.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. The ones that they're doing
there's
more.
No shortcut. I mean, there's YouTube videos on how to, do anything you want, and there's all these, influencers from a YouTube world that keep telling people how to play basketball. But at the end of the day, it's that effort. And I love that pride. Like, it's just thanks, Cal. That's really great.
Yeah, I think, it was good. I like to, I always try to present myself to people. Say, "Damn, man, you haven't changed. What's up?" I used to have the half moon haircut with the landing strip at the top of my head.
I love that look.
You got it, bro. You got it right now.
I got it now, and in fact, it's very, very contemporary.
But I had I had a family. I think I was probably one of the first players to have a family. So I had 2 boys I brought here, from Geelong, right down to Geelong. Went down the highway with our suitcases. Back then, you didn't have to worry about seatbelts too, but they were sitting on top of the suitcases going down the highway. CJ and Elliot, and then we had another son born, Austin, in Geelong, but they couldn't handle him. Had to go up to Melbourne to have for my wife who was premature delivery. He had to stay up there for like 2 weeks. As a matter of fact, I think BP, Brian, I think they was at the hospital when he was born. I went up to the hospital because I used to train up at Albert Park on a Wednesday night and go up, and then we'd go to the pub afterward. We didn't have no mobile phones, but I think Gorgon and them went to the hospital with me because I said, I better go say hello to the wifey. She's up here.
Do you remember the name of the hospital?
Oh, shit. Is it Princess Margaret? It was not far. It was probably 20 minutes from the pub that we used to go to all the time, you know.
Yeah.
But we all went in, and it was funny because Trish, she would tell you about it. But that was it. I had 3 kids in 1980, you know, that I had to look at, and I was a player and coach and director of coaching, and I'm trying to manage a family. My wife couldn't work; she just had a baby, you know. So it was a real tough slather to try to make things meet. I wanted to buy a house because they pay your rent. I told them, don't pay my rent. Could I please have that money and I'll invest it into a property so I can have something. And then I brought my mom out, you know, and that was a huge thing, you know, so she can see, because she thought I was living in the slums in the ghetto. And she was like, you know, what are you doing to my grandkids and the whole bit. But once I brought her out 3 times. Every time I moved back to Brisbane. I brought her. I went to Perth. I brought her. Then she passed away. But, you know, that was, to me, back then it was important, you know, to feel that you got major responsibility. So you got to play well. You got to prepare yourself to be on show. Else, as you know, there's your ticket. Shoot, we're sending you on your way. And that means I got to pack up everybody. So I didn't want that to happen, so I gave it my all.
Mate, you've got your grandson, Rio.
Yes.
CJ's son.
Yes.
Now, I'm hearing from a lot of sources he's going to be special.
Yes, he's longer than any of the Brutons. He's 6'5".
Is he 6'5"?
Yeah, Rio 6'5". Probably borderline 6 with that afro he tries to wear every now and then, you know. But at least legit 6'5", and he has a flame. He can shoot that thing. You know, CJ had him practicing since he was like 7 years old. He was practicing free throws. I remember going to the stadium, Spartan Stadium there with him one summer. Went up, and he's like I think he was probably 9, and he was shooting around. I said, hey, Grandpapa's here. He go, oh, yeah, Pop, I want to show you. So he's shooting the free throws. I said, can you shoot it left-handed? He swapped it over and dropped 2 straight with the left hand at 9 years old, right? But CJ had like a little shed in the back of the house where we used to have the little black pearl hoops and stuff. So he perfected one of those and had Rio in there every single day. He just loved it. You didn't have to tell him to go there. Then he wanted to outshoot CJ, and that's not going to happen. CJ, and to this day, they're about to have their final game of one-on-one because Rio saying, now I'm ready, you know, like you know. And I said, well, CJ, you might want to think about that one because I've seen Rio.
Has Rio signed an NBL 1 contract in Adelaide? I think he has, hasn't he?
He's going to South Adelaide. So
yeah, that's so
I
good.
just talked to Paul Bell today, and he arrives there today because he's
so exciting.
Playing for the SA under 20s as well.
Nice.
And then my son Brooklyn, Rio's uncle, is actually negotiating right now with the same club. So fingers crossed that he can go in there and we'll have maybe first time we have a little Bruton backcourt going on together. That'd be great.
That'd be nice.
Mm.
And Cal, can you believe when we sit and reflect on all this, that you're sitting where you are, telling this story and this bumpy journey that we all have, but yours is incredible because you've come from another country like Bruce and set up in another country. That's adversity times 10.
Hey, Steve, when I came, I was working on a trash truck. You know, I missed out on San Antonio Spurs. I was last man cut. That's why George Gervin and I still have a relationship. He thought, man, little fella, I thought you was going to make it. You know, I was with you. I was pulling for you, you know. But I always kept in contact with him. I think that's the important thing, too. Always stay open, you know, keep in mind. Yeah. So he kept in contact. And then I went to Wichita I hopped on a bus to get back out of there because I was actually placed. My mom put me in a mental institution after I came back from San Antonio because I lost all my clothes, all my belongings, and I came home with nothing. After being in Wichita, living there, and then going to San Antonio, I took all my belongings. Then when I left San Antonio, I didn't want to go back to Wichita because I was too embarrassed. I went back to New York, and my mom, she said, "Is that what the pros do to you? Is that what happens?" And I didn't go out the house because I couldn't. It was wintertime, and I had no clothes. So people were coming to see me and all that, and she reckoned I was getting depressed. My mom used to drink a little bit, and then one day she came home, and she was full, and she said, damn it, you know what? I'm over you in that room, and next thing you know, she's calling an ambulance, and she told them that I overdosed upstairs in my room. And they came running upstairs, and, I had the door locked because she was banging out. This is my house. Don't lock doors. I was like, go to sleep, right? Next thing you know, there's a knock at the door,
Wow.
and it's the two ambulance drivers. They go, "Oh, your mom said you overdosed." I said, "Man, she's been drinking." And then they go, "Well, she's threatening to sue the city if we don't take you with us." Right? So would you mind overnight? So I go in the ambulance, and you see that, yeah, take him out. He's not right. And I ride to the ambulance.
Shit.
They put me in a holding cell overnight with about 4 other guys. One of them pulled down
And was one of his names Bend Over?
I was close. He was going to the urinal, and he looked like he was aiming at me. So I jumped up. I kind of pushed him. He charges me. Next thing you know, the orderlies come and put us both in straitjackets and ship us to the Cremor State Mental Hospital.
Oh my God.
And all I remember is getting out of that ambulance and getting with this Asian doctor, and he jabbed me in my behind, and I fell asleep, and I woke up in a uniform. And I was like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. And I said, "Please, let me use your phone. I don't supposed to be here." And they said, "Okay, just be patient." And they wanted to give me some pills. I said, "No, I'm not taking anything. I need to make a phone call." I called my mom and said, "Come on, Mom, I got to get out of here." And she go, "I'm coming to visit you with your uncle." And the uncle said, "You know what? You need to get a real job." He told me, working in the housing and stuff. "So you need to stay here and think about it." I'm like, "Y'all gonna leave me here?" I was in there for 3 weeks until my best friend, Ricky Marsh, who was just made the Golden State Warriors, got all the kudos playing with Rick Barry and Phil Smith and Gus Williams. He came and said, "Man, where's Cal?" He said, "Man, Cal's locked up in the cuckoo nest and shit." So he came and said, "No, not my man." He came and signed me out with my high school coach. I lived with Rick for probably 3 weeks. And with my one little bag of clothes, I hopped on the bus. Rick gave me $250. I took the bus to Wichita. I saw a trash truck pull up. It was a 24-hour trip because the bus broke down on the way. They had to get another bus. I saw this guy get on the telephone and tell the people that I quit. You can take this truck and stick it up. And I listened to him. I said, "Oh," because I was waiting to get picked up. I said, "Oh, man, any chance you can call the guy back?" He said, "For what?" I said, I wouldn't mind taking your place." He said, "Really?" He said, "Man, here." And I told the guy, "Yo, I'll help you out if I can get the job." He came and picked me up, dropped me off to drop my bag off. I was hauling trash for the next 18 months.
Shit.
And picking snow, summer. I had a trial in between with the Kansas City, but Dave Atkins got me off the trash truck because he heard about me. He saw me in the Kansas City camp. And
Where's Dave today?
Dave's back in Iowa and also in Texas. And he's still doing his thing. He's with, what's the coach of Philly? Rick, what's the coach of Philadelphia? It's 76.
He was in Toronto. It's
yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Geez,
come on, Steve, do your research. Nurse, Nick Nurse.
Nick Nurse. Now that's Nick Nurse gave Doc Atkins his championship ring. Made sure he ordered a championship with Dave Atkins on it.
Wow.
For all the mentoring that he had done with him. So Nick and Dave is real tight. And I still talk to Dave probably once every few months. And we on the net, he'll compliment me and all that. So he was the guy that changed my life. Like without Dave, I probably would have got a better job than the trash truck, but I would have still been in Wichita, no doubt.
Again, Dave's another one that American, what they call the AABL,
Triple ABL, right? The American Australian Amateur Basketball League, the Triple ABL.
What an innovation.
Uh,
And then bringing the talent like yourself, Leroy.
mm.
Was Crawford in that as
Crawford
well?
was in that too. Yeah, Donnie Ray Cruz, Kelvin Henderson. They had, you name them. Dave Nelson, I mentioned before. Man,
Emery?
no, Emery came later. Emery came much later. He didn't
Much
come
later.
Yeah.
Was Gerhardt in that?
Tom. Yeah, I didn't come with. Yeah, he did come with that. Yeah, Tom was with that too.
But
Yeah.
they had a sweating limit that
I love Tommy G. Tommy G, man, that
played
guy.
hard, man. Tommy
Oh,
G played hard, but then what a lot of our listeners wouldn't be aware of is that Dave stayed on, did a great job with
Yep.
Carfino and the others, Paul
Hobart.
Stanley.
Paul Stanley. Paul was good. He got him down from Melbourne. Then he eventually got Joe Hurst in there too. He brought
Right.
Wayne McDaniels went down there. Yeah. So Dave took a lot of players that was on the board, like Simpson. There was a big Paul Simpson from Brisbane.
Yes.
He brought him down there, made him into a player.
Jerry Denard.
Jerry Denard was another one.
Stanwicks.
but like the names you're dropping here were
Yes.
all had an impact on the early days of this league.
True.
Like massive impact, these names you're talking about. They contributed, to where we are today. It's just incredible.
Let me ask you this, because Steve's going to want to dominate the time. With the NIL situation.
Yes.
And looking, what effect do you think that will have on the future stars?
Well, when they're paying straight money, like I know Proctor, Rod Proctor's son, was getting, I think he accumulated like $6 million for playing at Duke over the years. Yeah. $6 million. Now, one of my son Dante's best friend is playing for Syracuse now. Lefty. Oh, geez. He's a nice play from Tassie.
Yeah.
Okay.
He played in Tassie, rep ball, all that. He played here at the COE. They all come over my house. Dante, it's like an open door in my home. All these players, Dash Daniels, you name it, they all come through here. He's signed $1.2 million, and he plays like 5 minutes a game, average. And these kids, why would they come back here just to play? If you're getting $1 million, you're gonna stay in college. You're gonna stay in college for as long as you can. So my belief is that it's going to eventually blow up over there, because I don't see how you can maintain the portal. Everybody jumps in the portal, and it's almost like an auction. Like I'm gonna auction myself off to the highest bidder, and then I'm out. I'm going to the next destination. So every kid I can come across now is trying to get over there with the view of getting NIL money.
Yeah. Is that kid's name Luke Fennell?
Fennell, that's it. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. That's well, right. It's bunch. All those kids in the COE, are getting NIL money, and I think the management of this stuff now is getting a little bit, now you got to give credit to Mortimer and all that, because getting Giddy $100 million and getting Dyson Daniels $100 million. When that kind of money starts scooting out like that, then you start seeing, well, geez, it's a whole different language, for what these young players are aspiring to, But I think it's a tremendous pathway. The kids don't think about education no more, though. They're just thinking about getting to a program where they can get the money, and hopefully they can play.
But for some of them, it's got to be short term, because not all of them are going to make the NBA. So they got to get this 3 or 4 years of where, hey, I've got a big whack of money.
Yes.
And for some of them, may set them up for life if they're smart.
They have to be.
But if they're not smart and they finish college, the world will come to a real big halt when they realize, hey, I'm not good enough for the NBA.
So right now, as far as I know, the next stars, you have Lopez, the kid from Mexico, playing.
Yes, they're playing New Zealand.
Yes,
he'll be a high pick, I think. Because he's still not old enough.
No.
And the other Daniels.
Dash.
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 Yeah,
So
Dash.
what would he be? 17?
He
I
just
think
turned
he's
18. He
I
just
think
turned
he's just
18 years
turned
old.
Gotta be
18, yeah.
19 to get drafted.
That's
Like
right.
he
So
could
he's
be
got another.
making 3 or 4 million a year playing collegiate basketball. Rocco Zakarsky.
Yes.
It's great that you're drafted and he's performing with Minnesota's G League team, but
Yep.
man, he could have been a 4 or 5.
Roman Salopper is
Roman's
playing
doing
well
well.
at Pitt.
Yeah.
Roman's on nil money. Max McKinnon's on nil money. Austin
Yes.
Rapp, the big lug of a man.
Conrad. No, was it
Purdue.
the big guy that won the top?
Conlon.
Yeah, Conlon.
Conlon, he'd be on nil money. The
Yeah.
the elephant boy from the Sunshine Coast that plays for Purdue would
Yeah.
be on good nil money.
It's there. It's there. I'm just trying to get a scholarship for my boy just to get there, Dante, if he wants to go.
Well, yeah, you
Yeah.
take it. It's there. You got to take the opportunity. Cal, can I ask you, because Bruce likes to interrupt me a lot. So thinking ahead, you mentioned you're 72,
Yes.
and mate, I can tell you've got plenty of energy, and that swagger is still there. What are we going to see from Cal Bruton in the next few years? What's on Cal's radar? Just keep doing what you're doing, and do it for as long as you can.
Steve, yeah, you know what? I got a younger wife. She's like 16 years my junior, and she cracks the whip on me, keep me moving around. My thing is, I got 6 kids, 6 children, and I got 5 grandkids. I'm living for them now. I've outlived my mom, my dad, and I'm coaching, as you mentioned in the preview introduction. I'm coaching thousands of kids every year.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the support I'm receiving from an organization called Game Above, which is headed up by Keith J. Stone, and George Gervin is a part of that. My goal now is to start getting bricks. I want to build centers for those communities that kids don't have a place to play. I had a video sent to me the other day with a kid shooting every day on an outdoor court with no shoes on. It was at least covered court. And they said, man, this kid wants to go, Cal. We know that you've helped a lot of kids. Is there any chance you can arrange a scholarship for this young kid? And the first thing I said, well, first of all, we got to give him a pair of shoes. Like, what size is it?
That's a good start.
And he's size 14s. And fortunately, I get sneakers going to give him to. I had a brand new box of LeBron sitting in my garage, size 14s. And I sent it off to him, $38 I paid for postage to get it there. I was trying to get it there before Christmas. I haven't heard back from them. I'm hoping they got there because I wasn't going to pay another $100 to insure them. But to me, that's what it's all about for me right now, to try to tap another young kid and give him the opportunity. I got one in Broome that I went there. I just spent through this foundation, the Game Above. We rebuilt the courts, put new baskets in. We fed these kids for 4 days on the camp, and I was able to sort of identify about 4 kids in talent. 2 of them are going to Darwin already and playing in a little private school. So for me, I can use my connections because people say, "Damn, you still going?" At 72 this year. You know what? I don't feel it, and when I hit the wall, I hit the wall. But right now, it's all about me trying to help another young kid that was just like me coming up.
Coaches and Bruce and I are both ex-teachers. It's hard to put to value how you can impact young people's lives, and when you're old as well, I'm not quite as old as you two, but I'm old, and people come up to you and say, "G'day, Mr. McLeod, how are you?" And they're a surgeon. You know what I mean?
There you go.
You just go, "You can call me Steve." That's okay, sir, they say. That's
no city, oh my God, they got to be surgeons or lawyers or engineers that he will give the time of day to.
He's trying to get some of that NIL.
He wants NIL for his teaching career.
But hey, you guys do it too. I mean, what you're doing with your podcast is reaching out and letting people know these stories. we live in storytelling age
Yeah.
where you can reminisce. And so you would only hope that the kids can grab some nutrients, some vitamins from those stories and intake them so that they can grow in a similar way. And I believe for us still being around and wanting to stay involved and stay connected when others are trying to say, man, you two get out of here. Nah, I'm going. That's what happened with the NBL and all that. I feel like I can go in and do a general manager's job. I can be an executive, and I can still coach. Yeah, I'm gonna show when I get down there. I'm gonna win me one game. I know that much with these girls, But my thing is to be impactful off the court. Now, tell kids about financial literacy. Like Bruce, you know how we got paid $400, and sometimes you get paid nothing. Like you said, you were a full-time school teacher, but you know what? I was able to build. My goal was always to get a house for every one of my kids. I've achieved that, by saving pennies and being a postman and selling cards. I sold cards for 13 years while
Garbage
I was still trying
man.
to coach them. And garbage man.
That's crazy.
Whatever you have to do for your family,
You do it.
family first. You do it, and I feel proud. I can walk around knowing that, I've accomplished that. My son kills me. My son Dante, he's the youngest. He don't call me dad. He don't call me pop. He calls me brilliant all the time, right? I said, what the hell is brilliant? He said, oh, you was the brilliant Negro God. So he done saw the old posters that was up in Brisbane.
All right, okay.
So my thing is that, you know what? I gotta pass that on. I gotta continue to be brilliant. But I can't only do that with the kids. You go talk to some of these guys that already they look at you like you crazy if you're trying to tell them anything. But I can go to a 12-year-old and I can say, yo, you know what? See, I think you got some game. Like, now let me work with you on this. And before you know it, I got 2 kids. And then the next thing you know, I got 4 kids. Before you know it, I'm doing 150 kids on a weekend, and I'm bringing in other coaches to help me do it and help me. So we call it the Futures Program here. And now I'll move on to the next thing. But to me, it's all about, again, the indigenous, as Brian is doing. I'm not trying to make and find professional basketball players. I'm trying to make and find good people, and try to create opportunities for them. So with my son, Austin, he works for APM, which is Employment Service. Every second month, we go into these places like Cairns and Darwin and Alice Springs and Bunbury and Wagga Wagga, and we set up what we call our swag program. Skill set, work ethic, attitude is your altitude, and set the goals. And then we bring in employers from around that area and then get into a gym. And we have a little shooting, speed dating. We call it speed shooting. You go to a different station and sit with an employer and tell them what you want to do. And then we try to get you signed up, registered, and get you to work. Because at the end of the day,
incredible.
And we've been doing this for coming up on 2 years now, and it's getting bigger. We got 7 stops this year, and to me, that's what life is all about. When you can actually, as you used the word several times, impact others, and I can do it through my basketball when people remember me. And I actually reached out to Dave Christensen from Channel 9. I said, man, I got no footage. I'm tired of looking at the same footage of what Larry Kesselman, I believe, has bought up all the footage and he's not releasing, all those games. Bruce, you got any VHS tapes or the little Betamax? We got to get them converted. I think that's important. If you can storytell, you can storytell so the kids can see like, whoa, you were like that. Oh my God. And then all of a sudden their ears perk up.
Yeah.
So
Man.
that's what it's all about.
Look, again, we're going to tie this into a bow. It's the Allen Iverson Misunderstood is the name of his book, and that's really the purpose of his launch. But he's going to have stories and you got to get your tickets through Hooper's Heaven.
That's it.
If you want to be a part, it's going to be it'll be packed in there. But also, listeners, get a chance to listen to you because your story is great. You motivate, you inspire. I have nothing but respect for you, mate, because we really had dog to dog, and we both put our.
I can just hear your passion Cal. Like just everything you're talking about is you still got the swagger, you still got the enthusiasm, and I take my hat off to you, sir.
No, thank you guys, man. I think again, having these relationships with you guys, like I haven't seen BP for a minute, but when we see each other, it's like I seen him yesterday.
Yes.
And that's the same with you, Steve, and we talk about Mark. Y'all lifetime friends, man. It's not gonna change,
Correct.
So for us to be in a position to be able to share these stories and help others, and maybe they go get with their mates and reminisce, because at the end of the day, shit, I like head stories. They say you pat a man on the back and his head swells up. Well, you know what? I love getting those pats. I love giving them too.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, before Steve interrupts, what is the date at Hooper's Heaven?
January 18th.
Sunday the 18th.
Correct. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
It is.
All right. Well, hey, listeners, get on it. You get the opportunity to meet and greet with Allen Iverson. You get the opportunity to meet and greet with Australian NBL and Australian basketball legend Cal Bruton. And Steve, you'll be loitering around, won't you?
I'll come to see you guys, and we're going to have to catch up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah.
Well, we're always around. Well, Cal, thank you, and lots of love, my man.
Yeah, lots of love to you too, Steve. And Bruce, man, thank you, bro. It's been a minute. And
all right. You take care.
All right.
See you, man.
See you.